I had to quickly change my entire business model because I didn't deliver. I just had all
Drop off location, pick up when
yeah,
you
all
can.
drop off
Yeah.
locations, pickups, etc. So I was like, okay, all the gyms are closed. Let's just, quickly pivot to delivery.
Welcome to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast where we discuss all things hospitality, hotels, and business. You can find us online at slicktalkthepodcast.com and on every podcast listening platform.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. This episode is really unique. I know I say this often, probably on the show, because I've got, like a bunch of unique people in my network, but this one actually is really different just because there's no prep. We're just going in raw and just being real. Nick, thank you for joining me on the show. It's been interesting on how we connected. So obviously I'll share our story a little bit for the audience.
Sure.
But thanks for joining me. Where are you from?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So I live in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay.
But I'm originally from a town in central New Jersey called Manalapan.
Okay.
So
That's where you're at right now is, what's the
yeah,
first
I'm in
one?
Hoboken. Yep.
Okay. Hoboken. Okay. Perfect.
Right by the city, right by New York City, about 15 minutes away. You can literally throw a rock at downtown New York from where I live. So
Perfect.
it's convenient.
Is it dead over there right now? What's
Yeah,
it looking
man,
like?
it's pretty quiet. Especially like Midtown area. I've heard, kind of some horror stories over there.
Yeah.
Just people aren't working, so there's, not many people in the city. People are moving out of the city, so they're coming into places like Hoboken, and they're going into the suburbs because if you're going to pay all this crazy amount of rent,
Yeah.
like, why are you going to do it in New York City? You might as well, pay a little less, get more bang for your buck, and own something or rent something out. So it's definitely a different world we're living in. 2020, man.
Yeah, different
Can't
vibe.
make this shit up.
It'll pick up though. Like I think
For sure.
I think the first 6 months of 2021 is going to be a kind of a shit show, but
Yep.
going into the last half, maybe we'll see some pickup. We'll see.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%. I think it'll bounce back for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's kind of cool because so you and I, for the audience sake, long story short, for all the slick talkers that like followed along, Michael Chernow was on the show, big entrepreneur in the restaurant space. Was on Gary V's podcast. The guy's been around for a while and did some cool stuff. And then that episode went out, and then you and I connected via Instagram, and we've been like messaging back and forth and going back on just like your business and your concept of what you're doing in the food space, which is super cool, and we're going to jump into. But I just think it's kind of funny. Like we've been not planning this for a year, but we've been back and forth. We started to try to record in April. I got activated, and so it was just hard to get everything back into the grind. But now we're finally here, getting it done.
Yeah.
The power of podcasting is real, so it may take a year to get on the show, but it happens, and it's cool to see
for
the
sure,
network.
Man. I mean, listen. Yeah. I like to call myself aggressively patient. Like I always follow up with people, and I don't take it, personal if they don't get back to me, or I just know people are busy, right? There's so much going on in this world, and if you don't get back to me, within a couple weeks, couple months, couple years, and then eventually, we kind of connect again, then so be it. So I don't take anything personal. We're all kind of trying to build our own thing, so I don't take it personal at all. So a year later, and we're here.
We made it. Well, let's jump in. Let's talk about what Ready Strong Meals is, your concept, and like kind of like I want to know your backstory leading up to it, because like you said, I think I was going to ask, do you think being aggressively patient has played a role into your entrepreneurism? But I think we should get into the backstory first before we jump into the deep topics.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'll kind of give you the background, going all the way back from college, right? Like I graduated college. I graduated a college called Montclair State University in North New Jersey. And, what I wanted to do after school was I had no idea. Like I worked in restaurants, I delivered pizza, I worked for other people before, but I literally, like, you go into college and then you graduate and you're like, I don't know what to do. I just, I guess, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a salary. I'm going to make money. So I graduated with a business marketing and management degree. I was always good with people and selling and sales. So I was like, let me just go into sales. So I landed a job selling for a software company called AvePoint for about 4 years. And, it was good, made some money, but I really wanted to do something else. So a buddy of mine actually went to another software company, bigger software company called Salesforce. They're out in,
we know them. Yeah.
I'm sure you know them. They're out in California, New York City. They were building they built a massive tower in New York that's obviously going waste. It's wasted right now because of what's going on. So I moved companies from AvePoint to Salesforce, and I was there for about 5 years. And I did really well. I made good money, but it wasn't my true passion. It wasn't something that drove me. I woke up every day and I was kind of dreading the workday. I'd go into office, I would make, my phone calls, I would meet with people. It didn't really drive me. And I really wanted to make an impact on people. I felt like I wasn't doing that. Working at a big company with so many people. I worked with some amazing people. I had amazing managers. But I really wanted to scratch the itch of entrepreneurship. I was never, I didn't really do any entrepreneurship type things when I was younger, but I knew I wanted to do my own thing and really make an impact. And I loved food. I always loved, being in the kitchen with my mom, who's an amazing cook. And, I really wanted to understand what it was like to cook at a professional level. Because when you're cooking at a, in a home environment versus cooking, professionally, it's just two totally different things. Right. So while I was working at Salesforce, I actually took a job at a restaurant, cooking, part-time, a couple days a week. And, I kind of fell in love with it. It was funny. The first day, I walked into the kitchen and, I was expecting to cook something, and they actually made me shuck, I think it was 8 boxes of corn. They had these crates of corn in the corner, and they were like, all right, this is your job today. And obviously when you're in the restaurant and you're doing that, you're questioning everything. You're like, should I be doing this? This is a waste of time, shucking corn. But it actually taught me going back to that patience, that aggressive patience. It taught me to be patient. You're not going to be a professional cook overnight. It's going to take you time. You're going to have to do these things in order to lead up to it. So, I was kind of obsessed with being in the kitchen and just learning. And I wound up leaving Salesforce, which is pretty crazy, to work in a kitchen for free. So I worked at a restaurant.
This was a free
job. Yeah. So I found out about this. Yeah. So you call me crazy. It's probably, it's wild. And actually the first week, so I started in this place in Jersey City, and then was working there for a couple months. And then the first week in New York City, I started during restaurant week, which is the busiest week of the year.
Yeah.
Because people are coming in, they're getting deals, whatever. So I found out of it. The same buddy who actually, it's funny how the world works, right? The same buddy who referred me to Salesforce had a best friend who was a sous chef at a restaurant in Jersey City. And he introduced me to the sous chef, and then I started working with him. So that was the first job I went in, first restaurant I went to, and then I helped out their New York City restaurant. And while I was cooking, and really learning the business, I was cooking for people on the side. So just healthy, basic stuff like grilled chicken, broccoli, brown rice. And then I got kind of busy, and I was cooking for, I think it was 6 or 7 people while I was working in the restaurant full time. So I was like, this is something. I was like, I really think that, I could start a business out of it. At first I was just taking people, I was taking Venmos, and, people were paying me cash, and it was, I was people were giving me containers because I didn't really have enough money to buy containers. So it was just this business that, I thought I could make something out of it. And then I wound up leaving the restaurant that I was working at to really focus on this full time. And,
how long were you at the restaurant?
Ready Strong. I was there for about a year and change.
Okay.
Doing that, working, I was working 5 days a week, 6 days a week, when they were busy, and really just trying to learn, immerse myself in the business. And it was an amazing opportunity to really just understand how to do things, how to cook professionally, learn from the chefs, learn from other people. So it was a really good experience. And that's where kind of the idea of Ready Strong Meals was born, where, I wanted to cook healthy food for people looking to lose, maintain, and gain weight. And that's essentially, what, I've been doing for the past almost 2 years. So I had about 6 or 7 customers. I was cooking in my apartment in Hoboken. I was like, all right, I need to I'm outgrowing the space. So I winded up renting out a pizzeria / Italian restaurant. I was renting their kitchen for a good 7 months. I would only use their kitchen when their workers weren't there. So it was at night and in the morning. So Sunday night, I would go in every Sunday night, 10 p.m. We'd prep everything, 12, 1 o'clock. We'd get some shut eye, come back. Monday morning at 6 a.m., we'd cook everything. And then I'd have the orders out by 9 or so, cool it down in the fridge. And then I would sit at the pizzeria on Mondays from 4 to, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and have people kind of come and pick up the food. Wow. So it was a lot, it was definitely, on top of trying to get new clients, on top of, shopping for products, on top of all the issues that kind of come into running a business, and I was
especially starting it,
starting it, it's very hard. It's very challenging for, people to pay you, and you give them that experience, people that trust you with their money, right? Like, people are giving me, their hard-earned money. So it was a lot of pressure for me to, I wanted to give them a really good product and a good experience. Yeah. So that's why I would, I would wait for them, and I would, say listen, this is, I'll wait for you. No problem. I can deliver to you, whatever you want. I was obsessed with making sure that the customer was happy, and the food quality was, was great. And that's kind of the two things that, are always what I think about every single day: food quality and customer service. I want to make sure that my food is the best, and I want to make sure that my customer service is the best. So from there, I realized that that's not scalable. I can't sit at a pizzeria, or a restaurant and have people come, because what was happening was there were people that weren't showing up, and I'd have to hold the meals, or people are forgetting, or them, saying, hey, I'll be there at 6 o'clock, and then not coming until 9 o'clock. So it just messes everything up. So I realized if I wanted to really scale it, I would either need to deliver to people, or have certain pickup locations where people come and pick up the food. And that's where kind of my salesman hat went on, was me approaching gyms and then using the gyms as pickup locations, so people can kind of come in and go. So for them, it's for the gym, it's another selling point for people, for their trainers, for the owner, et cetera. Hey, we have meal prep at our gym, where you can kind of come, work out, pick up your meals, and, have everything at your fingertips. So a lot of the gym owners, I built relationships with these gym owners, and then, I would essentially put fridges in these gyms, and people will come and pick up their meals, so they can come whenever the gyms are open. And that's been actually pretty, pretty good. It's been pretty solid, fast forward until March, where coronavirus,
well, I was gonna,
took out my entire business model, right? So go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I ask you a question? Because are you no longer at the pizzeria? You have a kitchen now, right?
So I rent it out. So I'm renting out. Yeah, for sure. So I rented out so I'm no longer there. I rented out another kitchen. I went to another spot in Jersey City, and now I'm in a bigger kitchen in Union City. So I rent it out as well. I'm still renting. They're a catering company, and they were looking for another tenant, because they got actually, they were losing a lot of business with, coronavirus. So they needed another person to help. So it actually worked out, in my advantage, where I get bigger space, more, commercial refrigeration space, more space for us to cook and prep. And, now I'm there. So
can I ask, how many meals are you prepping, a week or a day? How many?
So on a weekly basis, we're doing anywhere from 200 to 300 per week
meals,
across
separate meals.
Yeah, like single meal. Yeah, meals across like 30, 35 people.
Wow.
And it's pretty consistent. Like I'll do, any given week, I'll do 200, 250, 260, etc. So it's it's pretty consistent. At first I was doing like 30 or 40 meals, and then just with time,
Yeah.
being, like I said, aggressively patient, you kind of put those things in place. You build relationships with people, you start selling, you start marketing.
They start referring people
Eventually,
maybe.
exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
referral
Yeah.
is my biggest source still,
Yeah.
is word of mouth. Like, people repost my food, and they see that, it's good food, and they, people trust other people, opinions.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah.
To say the
Let's
least.
fast forward to
So
March
fast
now. Like,
forward to
yeah.
2020, coronavirus, like, everything's going great. Like I just landed an account with Walmart e-commerce. They're official.
wow.
They were originally Jet.com, and then Walmart e-commerce acquired Jet. So, I got a fridge in that location in Hoboken. They're like a corporate, office. I think like 2,000 people in that office. So, I had like 7 or 8 people like ordering consistently. So I was like on pace to do like 500 meals. Like, it's amazing, whatever. It was like March, and it was right around my birthday, because my birthday is March 11th. I think they announced it like March like 10th was like, I think that's the day, or maybe a couple of days before that, where we're going on like a national, like not like a lockdown, but like things are close. And like, obviously you don't know what to think. You're like, what's going on? Okay. Like, we flatten the curve, 14 days, 2 weeks, no big deal. That 2 weeks turned into, I mean, it's still going on.
Here
right?
we are.
Here we are. 8 months later, we're still locked down. I still can't go to a bar at 11 o'clock, past 11 o'clock at night.
Yep.
Let alone mingle with people, can't have more than 10 people at a Thanksgiving. So, here we are. Right. And I had to quickly change my entire business model, because I didn't deliver. I just had all,
drop off location, pick up.
Yeah, all drop off locations, pickups, etc. So I was like, okay, all the gyms are closed. Let's just, quickly pivot to delivery. And then that's, kind of what I've been doing in the past, however many months, this, the pandemic's been going on, is deliver. And I've been doing all the delivery on my own. It's funny, now this week I'm actually looking to hire a delivery driver to take over, some of the stuff that I've been doing, and then eventually branch out to New York City.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at, right? It's like you have to, and then, I think it's like 2020 teaches you a lot of lessons. Like, one of the big ones is just being able to quickly assess the situation. Like, something happens, assess situation, don't dwell, pivot, and then just like, how do you find a solution moving forward, instead of like just complaining about it, or just saying, oh my God, like, why is this happening to me? And like, you get creative. Like, I get creative when my back's against the wall. You have to just figure it out, right? And there's no other option, right? It's either that or you give up and quit. And that's like not even in, my vocabulary.
Yeah.
So, it's been an interesting ride for sure. We're continuing to grow, and, hire people, chefs, and hiring, like I said, a delivery driver this week. And, there's been a ton of challenges along the way, and, it's been interesting for sure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, where we're at,
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh, I was going to ask, like,
December.
Seriously, especially with the holidays coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, because like we're in the hotel space and vacation rental space, and even restaurants, we're focused on contactless delivery, contactless, check-in, contactless this, contactless that. That obviously, like with delivery, like the drop-off location model stopped working because of the gyms and everything were closed, right? There's no way people can go pick up. So with delivery, you weren't doing any like third-party service app or anything. It was just all you.
No, the reason why I wasn't doing any third-party app was because I'm still a small business, and for like a Grubhub or Seamless or like any of these other platforms to take 30% out of my pocket, I was like, you know what, like maybe when I get bigger, like eventually, but I'd rather control everything and have everything in house, as opposed to like outsource it, lean on somebody else, and then have that 30%, kind of in my, like, I don't want, to rely on something on another platform and then have to like them take out like 30% out of my pocket.
For sure.
Even if they're marketing.
Yeah. No, we were just talking about that the other day. Like, and I'm in this hospitality group with like other restaurateurs and hotelier stuff, and we're talking about like it's an unsustainable model. And so, especially with the hidden fees on top of it, and it's like you're not only getting 30%, but like a processing fee and a delivery this and a monthly.
And I feel bad for a lot of these restaurants that like they lean on these platforms and these systems to help them grow. So like, even as a consumer, I'm always calling the restaurant directly.
100%.
I always tell people, like, call the restaurant directly. Like, chances are they deliver and they have like their in-person house, and they don't have to give like the 30% fee to Grubhub or Seamless, who are massive companies. Like, you have these companies like Amazon and Walmart that are like these owners like Bezos, and the Walmarts, like they're making more money off this pandemic, and the small businesses are suffering for it.
Yeah.
So, my thought process is like, I want to help the small business. I want to help the gritty, like, entrepreneurs that are grinding every day, and not help like, people that are worth billions of dollars. Like, that's just,
speaking
that's
of,
just my mentality.
No, for sure. And speaking of like Instagram, I saw somebody post, I think it was you or it was actually a person. I don't know if it was I'm trying to think of who posted, but anyways, it was somebody said, to whoever put $50 of product in their cart on my online shop, you just paid for half my groceries this week. Thank you so much. Like, legit, like, small business owner, like realness. And it's like, I think about that often because we think, COVID sped up a lot of the stuff that was happening in the industry of hospitality, hotels, restaurants. Like, we were already integrating to contactless and to like touch, less touch points for guests and less, more automated processes and, stuff like that. Sped it up a lot, like an amount, like years of stuff that we were going to do in the industry has been sped up. But like you said, the small business owner that isn't able, they're not making millions to integrate, all these things, and there are mom and pop shop or a family business, or just people that the clientele don't want to use this product. They like the human close interaction.
Interaction.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's just crazy to see, like the amounts that people like Grubhub and other companies are getting away with on that, like, charge to the owner or the business is like, dude, you're killing all profit. Like, profit margins are hard enough.
Profit margins are thin, right? And the rest are like, a lot of people, you must be making so much money. You're doing all these meals, blah, blah. No, not really, right? After overhead, food cost, marketing, right? Labor, you're running on a thin margin. Okay. There's a lot that goes into it. I have thousands of dollars in sales on a weekly basis, but there's a lot of other things that you don't really, kind of take into account. You're running on thin margins. So to be able to give 30%, to a Grubhub or a Seamless, it's just crazy to me. Like, a lot of these business owners, like you said, like, this is their lifeline. Like, this is their livelihood. Like, they have families to provide for. They have, people to, feed. Like me, I'm single. I live pretty humbly. I worked at corporate jobs. I've saved money. I have, I have like a little bit of a safety net. God forbid something happens. Whereas a lot of these people, like, they don't, like, this is the business that and they've spent 20, 30 years building up to have, it be taken away from them. So it's a crazy time. And like, going back to like the hotel industry, like so I also own a catering company, with a partner of mine who works in the hotel industry, and he was in the union. And it's a buddy of mine who, I grew up with. So one of my best friends, and he was in the union and, making great money. And then all of a sudden this pandemic hit and he's laid off. And now he's got to find, another option. And, we got a little busy with, we were doing like outside, like, weddings and, graduation parties and, things like that, but that's not consistent. Right. So now it's like, he has to literally change an entire career for the time being. Who knows when the hotel industry, the banquet industry is gonna, be busy again. could be a year, could be 5 years, could be six, I don't know. We said, this is like, 2 weeks, right? Like, okay, 14 days to flatten the curve. And now, like you said, look at us now, right?
Yeah.
We're still kind of on a mini lockdown. We still can't do certain things. And it's crazy, it's wild.
No, we've had experts on the show talk about the recovery in that sense, like event space, conventions, banquets. We're not seeing anything until 2022, 23, like real recovery, like 2019 numbers. And it's like, and I had a hotel guest on the show. They're based out in Chicago, and they said they've been closed since March. They are not opening or planning to open till the later half of 2021 because it costs them less money to be closed. $1 million a month in utilities, $1 million a month, no staff. That's just a month in utilities for 1,200 something rooms. Yeah, $1 million a month. That's 12. That's 12 a year just to be closed. So it's like, and so they're like, it's in order for us to open and have staff, and then of course only be occupied 10% of our 1,200 rooms.
And I think it's gonna change the industry, right? It's like, if you're a retail, like, brick and mortar location, you have to be thinking, all right, how do I, like, if you're not delivering nowadays, like if you're not delivering pre-coronavirus, like, what are you doing, right? Like, you're crazy. And I know like a bunch of restaurants that don't deliver, like for whatever reason, like maybe just don't, they don't want to deal with the headache, because it is, a bit of a headache. But now you have these apps, they'll take a percentage, but it can help get your name out there. I think it's going to change the industry as a whole, and you're not going to see that, as many restaurants being, pop up, here and there. Like, sure, like, everyone, like the restaurant industry, will bounce back, like eventually, 100%. But it's going to change the way people think and like how they do business, and just the whole industry as a whole, I think. For sure.
Yeah. My friend Josh Copel, who runs Full Comp Podcast. I'll have to make an intro for you guys because I think you guys would be a great fit. But he partnered with Yelp, and he said, you know what, this is like what made him start this podcast, and like this whole like movement in the restaurant space was like, I'm tired. He had a Michelin rated restaurant in LA downtown, like perfect spot. And he's like, we are tired of running on crap. Like, we are literally, I'm an owner of a multi-million-dollar revenue restaurant, Michelin rated, all this other stuff. And I'm tired of working 80 to 120 hours a week, depending on, the craziness going on, for thin profit margins. Somebody always trying to get between me and my guests. There's always that one company trying to, like, we can extra, penny and nickel and dime throughout that experience.
Nickel and dime you 100%.
Yeah. And so he's starting this whole thing, and I think you're right. Like, the idea of 2021 and recovery, like, what does recovery look like? To me, recovery looks like clean slate. We need to reevaluate our plan, like our industry as a whole. Like, we're not going to accept these things anymore, because at the end of the day, everyone's got to make their money, but we're overcomplicating things by adding a 30% margin of revenue going to a delivery service, when really it would cost you maybe 10-15% in-house, if not less.
Exactly.
So it's been interesting to see it. I'm hoping, for all of our sake, with hotels as well, that we don't go back to the mindset, well, this is how we've been doing it for 20 years. I don't think
you have a lot of those old school mindsets, in that business. And I hope that now, like, this is a kick in the butt to be like, okay, now we have to change. Now we got to retweak, we got to reinvent. And like you said, like, go off a clean slate. Like, this is, what does it look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now? What if something like this happens? What if there's another pandemic, right? What if there's something else? There's another virus, or there's another disease that takes, hundreds of thousands of people out. I think it's like a wake up call. I think a lot of people are like, oh, cancel 2020, but like, it's wake up 2020. Like, wake up. What have you been doing? Like, reevaluate, like how you've been, like the stuff you've been putting in your mind, your body. I see a lot of people, they they're eating like shit, they're eating crappy, they're not working out. And now it's like during a pandemic, like it's so important to eat healthy. It's so important to, work out. It's so important to be okay and block out the noise,
Mm-hmm.
And the distractions. You put on the news and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh my
Oh my
God,
gosh.
you're just like, you put on different channels, you're just like, oh my God, like, is the world ending?
Yeah.
So like, how do you block out those distractions, and continue to move forward, and be healthy, physically and mentally, because that's,
Well,
it's both important.
I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this. Like, I think I was talking about another friend. We have another podcast called Good Morning Hospitality, and we were talking about the COVIDpreneurs, right? So like 2008, 2009, there was entrepreneurs that came from that crisis, and now we're seeing entrepreneurs come from this crisis, right? They find ways to innovate, they get creative, they have an aha moment when they're at their day job and they get furloughed or whatever. So for you guys with Ready Strong Meals, have you seen any like kind of COVIDpreneurs come into the space of what you are doing already, like trying to like maybe copy the business model, or even just the overall concept of food delivery in the sense of like meal prep and strong and healthy, like good quality food?
Listen, it's funny. I see a lot of chefs that kind of like rag on meal prep. They'll be like, oh, like meal prep, whatever. It's come in, have a great meal. You don't have to worry, don't worry about ordering, meal prep, are now doing it because they have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have a lot of these chefs that are kind of like looking down on, prepared meals. And now that's what they're doing.
Because nobody can come in and eat with them, right?
Nobody can come in and eat, right? 25%. What is 25% going to do? You run on thin margins when you're at 100% capacity. So 25% is, take that out the door. You need to do something else. So a lot of these, I see a lot of, solid chefs that are now offering as a service. But is it scale? Like, can they scale it? Do they have, like we have, all the systems in place in the sense that like, we have ordering online, right? You can pick the options, pay via credit card, PayPal, whatever, and then have it delivered. We have a whole process like, hey, order by, 10 p.m. Thursday for Monday delivery. So a lot of that takes time and like kind of setting up, the process, the infrastructure. Yeah, exactly. Logistics and all that stuff. So we've had that all in place, for the past, year and a half, where
and they're just not figuring it out.
And now, like, you have to figure, right? It's like, you got to figure it out, maybe build a website. They got to build a website. They got to build an ordering process. They got to, run something on maybe something like Shopify or, an ordering platform. Or they can just, get orders, people can message them their orders. But what's going to happen is as they get bigger and as they're doing more orders, they're going to, mistakes are bound to happen, right? I was doing everything off an Excel spreadsheet, and I was screwing shit up like crazy, it was a lot of like manual. I was doing manual processes.
Too
and
much.
I was like, all right, I need technology. I need something that's gonna like streamline this. And that's where I invested in something like Shopify. I had someone build out my website, an ordering process, and now people can just go on and order off the website, and it's easy, it's convenient, right?
Yeah,
because there's so many options.
It may have cost a little bit up front for you, but now you have the time to like figure. It's an
investment.
Yeah.
Right. It's an investment. It's an asset. I need it. It's going to drive more sales, right? Because as a consumer, you want it to be as easy as possible for someone to order something, right? You don't want to have to message somebody, hey, I want this, or, I want that. I want to go on a website. I want to click what I want. I don't want to talk to anybody and then know that it's going to come to my door, or, whether I'm picking it up, whatever, at a certain time and day. You want it to make it as easy as possible for the consumer, because there's so many other options out there, right? There's so many people trying to take your customers. There's 100%. So much, especially in the food space, right? Especially in like in the meal prep space. You Google meal prep in New Jersey, you'll see 100 companies come up. And especially now with all these private chefs, restaurants that are hurting are now, offering it as an option. So, it's an investment. It's a little bit more money up front, but in the long run, it's going to drive sales, and it's going to drive, that experience for the customer.
And I would drive with sales. Like if you just freed up how many hours of your day or your week in order to go get more clients and more customers. Yeah.
Exactly.
So again, more sales and more money, because you're going to get more time to go do that.
Exactly. Better with your time. 100%.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking of like all these other things, man. Like, have you thought about like what are other ways that you guys are looking at to grow this? Because I
Yeah,
see
good
like
question.
I've seen restaurants, at least here in Washington, like they were doing like make your own margarita kits. So they're like
Yep.
providing like the margarita, the instructions, the mixers, all the stuff. And like, of course, they marked it up, but like you literally just order it, pick up, and take it home, and you have everything to make a margarita or Bloody Mary or whatever. And you guys, like, what other ways are you guys looking at Ready Strong Meals for growth?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually it's a really good concept. A lot of the restaurants were doing, like a lot of pizzerias, they were doing like make your own pizzas. You buy the dough,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
supported my local pizzeria and I bought, the
Oh,
dough,
yeah.
the bread. And it's like a cool like experience. Um, so, we offer contactless delivery, right? So like, you can order delivery, we drop it off right at your right at your stoop, and you can grab the meals whenever you like. Now that the gyms are open in a limited capacity, we have the pickup locations available. We're doing samples at different gyms that kind of let us to people like try the food. Obviously, COVID, social distancing, making sure we have gloves on, which we always did.
Masks, stuff like that.
Yeah, masks, and we're bringing eating healthy at the forefront, because that's going to help you with your immune system. That's going to help you build your immune system and then eventually fight diseases, right? 100%. So we're trying to educate people on like, hey, make sure you know what you're putting in your body. You're not eating processed foods. You're not eating junks. You're not eating junk food. And you're working out, you're staying active, you're staying healthy. Even if like you go for a walk, for 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It helps from a physical standpoint and also mentally.
100%. Yeah.
So, we're trying to educate people on the right things to eat, because eventually it'll help you from fighting a disease like this, fighting a virus like, coronavirus. Because let's be real, if you're overweight and you have problems with your health, you're in that category, right? Where you got to be careful. You could be hospitalized. The chances of dying are very, very low, but there is that small chance, so we're trying to educate people on, be healthy, even if you're not going to order our meals, like, hey, here are some things that like we can, we post recipes, I'm sure you see on our page. You post recipes for certain things, and I'm very transparent with all my food. So I want to make sure that places like McDonald's, Big Mac, Burger King, I'm thinking of the Big Mac from McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, like all these places that are like, yeah, like every once in a while, eat them, enjoy it. But I know people that eat it every day,
Daily.
and daily, and it's sad. And now it's like fast food is not even that cheap anymore. Like, you get, a burger, fries, and a soda for $10. Have a meal, a Ready Strong meal. You get, fresh grilled chicken breast with brown rice and assorted, vegetables. You get a chili meal with lean ground beef, tomatoes, different spices, rice, and vegetables.
Real flavor. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Real flavor, not processed, like cooked day of. We're not, processing anything. We're not frying anything. We're not using, ton of oils, butters. So I think it's like bringing the forefront of health to fight, diseases and to be healthy,
For sure,
every single day. So
no, that's great. I want to wrap this up with one final question for you, because I think like the I don't cover it enough on the show on like entrepreneurism. We talk about it in the sense of like vacation rentals and other like segments of hospitality. But for you, if you could like tell any Slick Talk listener right now that wants to be an entrepreneur, is an entrepreneur, struggling, or whatever it may be, what's like one thing that you could take away from your whole experience in these last 2 years or 3 years of doing Ready Strong Meals, and like that can be applied to anything, like whether it's a software company or that they're starting up or they're selling something out of the back of their car or whatever. What's one thing that you could just say, I took this away from my journey and I want this like to be applied to anybody else?
Be resilient. Be resilient. Never give up, because there's days and times where you're going to want to quit. You're going to be tired. You're going to say, why am I doing all this work? Why am I sacrificing, these days and hours and this time away from family, friends, etc. Why? Like, just be resilient, never give up. Keep grinding away. Like I said earlier, have aggressive patience, because it's going to take a while. It's going to, and I'm still, building my business. So, I'd say just, be patient, be resilient, and don't quit.
For sure. No, I remember when I was thinking about going podcasting full time, I was like, I don't know if I could do it. And then my buddy was like, hey, it's like sink or swim, man. Like, you have to make the decision now that if you're going to quit, you're going to sink or swim, and you better freaking swim. And I remember like consciously making that decision. And then when it happened, quit December 27th, 2019, right before COVID. And that COVID moment hit where I like lost all sponsors, lost all guests, like, and it was that comment came to my head, like, don't quit, be resilient. But like, sink or swim is what came through my head. And that's when it was just like, I think like many of us was just like, all right, we're hitting the drawing board. Like, we just
and there's never a right time, right?
No,
there's never a right time. Life is going to get busy. There's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. Like, there's never a good time to start something. It's just like, you have to just start, right? A lot of people get paralyzed by like overanalyzing.
Yeah.
And they just don't even start, so they fail before they even begin.
Yeah.
So it's, you have to just start, day one, come up with a plan, be strategic about it. And then just, things will kind of fall into place as you're taking action, right? If you're not going to take any action and you're going to talk a lot, then it's never going to work.
For sure. Where can people find you? Where I'm obviously gonna link everything in the bio and the show notes.
So readystrongmeals.com is is my website. Instagram is @readystrongmeals. Here's my my logo. Yeah. It's pretty simple. I got the army cap for you. Will,
yes.
So representing military. Nick @readystrongmeals.com. If they have any questions, I have all my personal information on my website. So, for anybody that has questions on, becoming an entrepreneur, they're an entrepreneur, but they're struggling, with certain things, I'm happy to help. Again, like, I'm still on this journey. I'm still like learning and figuring it out. So by no means am I, have I made it or anything like that. I'm just, grinding every day and just trying to find a way to make things happen. So
what's the saying? Rising tide raise all boats, or something like that. So I feel it. Yeah, that's good advice. We're all in this together, whether you're in the restaurant industry or not. Like
100%.
Entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship, man. We all got struggles, and
we all deal with the same things. We all deal with the same things. So
awesome. Well, Nick, it's been great having you on the show, to finally meet you in person, quote unquote
awesome,
person. But thank you for being on. I'm going to tag everything in the show notes, guys. So people that are listening, you can click all the links, go Ready Strong Meals. It'll take you there. The Instagram, I'm a follower. So if you follow them on Instagram, you follow me, you can see me tag their stuff when this episode goes live. So it's going to be good. But thanks for being on the show, man. And I can't wait to see what you keep doing.
All right, Will. Thanks a lot, man.
Later.
Thank you so much for listening. We love your support and want to provide the best we can to all our listeners. So please find us online, social media, and on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast.